Hi everybody, it's Cash. Welcome back. Thank you very much for joining me. Today I want to tell you what happened when I tested the energy of Reiki healing. But not just Reiki healing, I also tested the energy of a regular body massage. Now, I've had lots of massages in my life of the physical kind, where they basically rub your body. But I've only ever had one Reiki healing. And that was about 20 years ago. The guy was supposedly very good, but I felt nothing. And I thought it was a bit of a waste of time and money, and I never went back. But so many of you have asked me if I would test the energy of Reiki that I thought I would try again. I've also done transition pictures for this guy, Mikao Usui. He was a Buddhist monk in the early part of the 20th century and the guy who came up with the practice of Reiki. I thought Reiki was a 1,000-year-old modality dating back to ancient Japan. But Mikao Usui died in 1926. And I thought, wouldn't it be interesting to see if he walked the talk? So many of these gurus and healers, when I go into their energy and the transition, don't really live up to their worldly image. There's no authenticity there. And I thought, I wonder if he did. So I went into his energy, and I will tell you those pictures too. But Reiki is a fascinating thing. Rei meaning universal, and Ki meaning life force, as in chi and prana. And the idea is, I think, that it unites our individual life force with the universal life force that goes through all things. And it can bring harmony and balance to the body, and mental clarity, and even healing. And this is extremely appealing to me as an idea, but I really didn't have much success when I tried it last time. So I had to approach this with an open mind. The way I found the person I went to was that I went on ChatGPT and used AI and said, who is the top Reiki healer in my area? And it came up with 3 names. I just basically chose the first one and went to her. She is a Reiki master, a teacher. She heals the chakras. She uses crystals and stones on your body. And I thought that will be perfect. I made an appointment and I went along. I have no idea what to expect. I'm just completely blocking out whatever happened with that guy 20 years ago. That's an aberration and it's gone. And I'm starting anew. This is fresh today. She told me not to have coffee, to wear loose-fitting clothes, and I'll see what happens. Now, obviously, I can't show you what happened during the session because I had to be 100% engaged. And in Reiki, being engaged means simply surrendering to the process, relaxing and allowing the Reiki healer to work, in this case, her magic, rather than putting up blockages and questioning constantly what is happening. But I will, in a few moments, tell you what happened. In the meantime, I just wanted to look at the transition of the guy who started this, Mikao Usui. He died in 1926, as I said, of a stroke. He was 60 years old. He studied many different subjects, Christianity and history and medicine and psychology and Taoism and Buddhism, and he would take what he'd learned and teach it to his students in Japan. Then they took it out around the world and they practiced it. Very, very interesting and influential and incredibly high consciousness, because at the core of what he taught, there were 5 principles. And if we all practice these every day, our lives would be exponentially better. Just for today, I will not be angry. I will not worry. I will be grateful. I will do my work honestly. And I will be kind to every living thing. That is on the path of higher intention. If we did that every single day, and we followed through on it every single day, we would raise our vibration and our lives would get better. We would heal because we're putting out positive vibration energy. So I thought, I wonder what his transition was like. Was he one of the thought leaders, the healers, the gurus who walked the talk? And when I went into his energy, there was a line. It was a distinct line between this side and that side. And when he appeared, he flew through the line. So it was like a membrane, really, presumably the interface between mortal and immortal, between form and formless. But he appeared to shoot through it, as if he'd been injected with a hypodermic. So it must have been very sudden when it happened and completely unexpected. He shot through, suddenly aware that he had no body. And what was strange was I had just done transition pictures for passengers on board a plane that crashed in India. Maybe you saw that story. If you didn't see the video with the transition pictures in, I'll put a link to it in the show notes below this one. But I'd just done those, and what became evident was that when people die very, very suddenly, when their spirit is wrenched from their physical self, they are very, very confused. There follows a period of tumbling, of spiraling, of floating aimlessly while they adjust to what is happening. It's a bit like sinking in the ocean. Something similar happened with Mikao Usui. Except that although he was floating and a little bit lost and didn't quite know how to rationalize what was going on, he seemed together enough, or wise enough, or informed enough about the process to right himself quite easily. He had a real solid understanding of what was involved here, I thought. And below him was a light, very strong light, that he immediately began swimming towards. It's like he had a trajectory now. He wasn't just sinking and wondering and confused. He had somewhere to go. And he swam directly towards this light. Only it was like an aperture on a camera that was gradually closing. And all he had to do was get through the aperture before it closed. Such was his understanding of this, that he didn't have to go through that orientation process in the cave that I always see. It's metaphorical. There's no real cave there, but it's what I see for most people. He didn't have to go through that. He was immediately in the tunnel that leads to the point of ascension. And he walked up this tunnel, but hugging the walls for some reason, not out of trepidation or fear. It almost felt like humility. Like, I want to explore this and not presume anything. I'm just going to edge my way towards the light. But as he approached, I see it as a dome at the top of the tunnel, but as he approached, there were missiles of light coming out of the dome that went straight past him, because he was hugging the walls. And it almost seemed as though grace was trying to bring him in. You're in the right place. You arrived at the right time. We were expecting you. Come on. And he was saying, I don't know if I'm ready. I don't know if I understand this. He was processing. It was almost like academic study in a way. And when he got to the top of the tunnel, he sat down. I couldn't get him to move initially because he had to survey the scene. He had to appraise it. Remember, this is in consciousness, the final seconds of somebody's consciousness before they ascend. And he was analyzing it. He got up at one point, in my head obviously, he got up and walked around it, inspecting it, surveying the terrain, probably trying to absorb as much energy and information as he could. And once he'd done that, he very calmly entered the light, entered the dome. It was almost like he pulled back curtains and went through. It was that smooth for him. Whatever he'd learnt in life, whatever he'd taught in life, he was very sure of it at a consciousness level. To the point where when the things he expected, because he'd studied them, the things he expected happened, he wasn't thrown for a loop. A little bit at the beginning, because I don't think he was expecting to die when he did. But once he'd assimilated that fact, he turned around and he swam towards the light and was able to skip all the preliminaries that most of us seem to go through at the start when we arrive in this space. And Grace said, "Come on in, come on, we're ready for you." But he was still attached to his mortal understanding, his need to know, his need to explore and assimilate and so on. But once he'd done that, he was a very willing and eager participant. He just stepped into the light and was gone. So yeah, this was a guy who really knew how life worked. And those 5 principles could be paving stones that enable us to find the path to that kind of ascension. Just for today, I will not be angry. I will not worry. I will be grateful. I will do my work honestly. I will be kind to every living thing. That kind of energy certainly came from the Reiki healer that I saw, because I left the place and not only did I feel the adjustment within myself, but everything seemed to be calmer. It's almost like I'd been on one track, the way I was before I went in, one track, and my energy had been on another track, and she had somehow managed to realign it so it was all on one track, the right track. She had a pendulum that she ran over my body at the start, and it didn't move. It was completely still all the way down. She said, "You're blocked." Then at the end, she held the pendulum again with a very still hand, and it swung wildly around over every chakra. But I really felt like something had changed. When I looked at trees, the buds were glorious. When I looked at a bus stop, it was like, whoa, there's a movie poster. And then above it, there was some kind of publicity thing with a real dragon on top. And it was like wondrous. And then I had a vegetarian burrito in a cafe, and that was succulent and marvelous, and the whole experience was wonderful and extended for quite a period of time. The woman was incredibly switched on and spiritual, and the environment was wonderful. I just lay on a table. I think I fell asleep a couple of times, very briefly, but it was just so restful. And the pictures I got for the actual process, were like a Chinese dragon. You know how when they're drawn, they look like great waves coming in with a head. And as she was doing it, it came in and devoured my entire body, leaving a kind of relic, like the old me had to go. And after that, it just fell through the body that was left, fell through the table and disappeared underneath, to be replaced by like a ball or a shifting cloud of light. When I did her energy to see what she was about, there was a shaft of light, but at an angle, not vertical, but a shaft of light coming in behind her into her back, like it was pushing her forward. Have you ever seen the BFG, that Steven Spielberg movie? I've not seen it, but I've seen a clip, and the hand comes in through the window and tries to grab a kid or something. But it's a bit like that, only there's this giant finger was pushing her forward to empower her, to drive her into doing what she was doing. So there is something to Reiki, clearly. And I'm now working these 5 statements, just for today, I will not be angry, and so on, into my daily practice. But after that, I went for a regular massage. Now, of course, Reiki isn't a massage, but I went for a regular massage to test the energy of that. It was a Chinese place that I've been to before, and that was really interesting too. Here's what happened. This is going to be the traditional massage. I'm going to have my upper body done and my feet. And while I'm having it done, I'm going to test out the energy like I did with the Reiki. The Reiki one was 2 days ago, and there's really been a massive shift that I've noticed. I feel out of balance in a way, and that's because I think I was so out of balance before that I'm now balanced, and it feels like imbalance, actually. But there's been a massive shift. This massage today will not be the same thing. This is simply a body rub, basically. But I'll see. I'm very, very interested to know what the difference is in the energy. Well, that was stupendous. There was an entirely different energy with a massage, a general massage, than there was from the Reiki healing. I had my back thing, they give you chocolate, by the way, to compensate for the pain, but I lay on my front and they did all my back and my head and whatever. And when I went into the guy's energy, he was a bit like Dr. Octopus. Have you seen him in Spider-Man, where the energy comes around from the back like tentacles and into me? So he wasn't channeling so much as using his energy to transfer energy to me. And that was what came through his hands and his intention and so on. That was very, very powerful. But the actual energy of the massage itself was like when you get an orange press. You know those things with a big handle? And they pull the handle down and the juice comes out of the bottom. It was like that. It was pressing down on me, the energy, with a view to releasing toxins, I guess. It felt like residue or a surplus or something being squeezed out of me and away. So that's interesting. And then I had my feet done, and that was rather like when you get a pair of lace-up boots and you pull on the laces and it draws the two sides together into alignment. That's what it does. Your energy is all over the place, and the massage of your feet and lower legs, like from the knee downwards, brings your energy, or presumably your entire body, into some kind of natural alignment when it had got out of whack. That's what that felt like. So entirely different experiences within the same massage, but also different from the Reiki healing. And that's it. Thank you very much for watching. I will see you next time. Thanks a lot, guys. Bye-bye. I'm not going to have my chocolate now.